Hi friends, and welcome to video 2 from my car. And today I wanted to talk about, tell you kind of a weird story of a time I said no. And if you know me, I have a hard time saying no to people because I think I can do everything and I want to help people. So yeah, this is a weird story about one time when I decided to say no and it kind of backfired. So a few years ago, I took a job at, it was called Trinity Rescue Mission. So it was a homeless shelter, and I was a supervisor over, I don't even know how many, probably like 50 or so women and children. And then plus, if we had overnight guests staying, that could be another 50 people. So it was a lot of people, a lot of women. And I'm trying to remember, maybe 20, 22. I don't know. Not very old. And I was over like these 50, 40, like really a lot older than me women, who had way more life experience, probably not the good kind, hence the shelter, but who, like, I mean, I wouldn't have respect in me if I were them, but anyway, it was a very weird job and kind of rewarding in some ways, but anyway, so we have a lot of rules there, obviously, because unfortunately we just can't trust everyone who lives there. And like I said, we had overnight guests, people who just come in for the night and then leave, and then we had residents. So this was one woman who was an overnighter, but she came a lot of times, so I kind of knew her. But she wasn't like someone who actually lived at the shelter. But anyway, she was one of those women who thought she could do whatever she wants, and because we knew her that she could flaunt the rules, like come in early, and do whatever, take food, and so sometimes I get a little bit stubborn, and because I'm not used to saying no to people, I kind of was like, I'm just gonna do it. I'm not gonna change my mind because I want to show that I actually am in charge. And so this woman comes like hours early. She's not allowed to come in yet because check-in time is not till a lot later, and she's like pounding on the door. And I think the day before we'd had like some kind of disagreement as well, because she was doing something she wasn't supposed to. So I was already like not feeling it. So she comes pounding on the door like, oh, I need to use the bathroom. Please let me in. And I was like, no, you can't. Like, check-in isn't till like 2 hours from now. I'm sorry. And she just causes huge, like, upheaval, like just yelling, pounding on the door. And the way it works is if we have a certain amount of beds we can give away to the overnighters, and so people show up hours early just to make sure they have a bed. And so she was like, I can't leave because then I'm going to lose my spot and I can't I won't have anywhere to stay. And I was like, well, just go across the street. There's like a gas station. If you're that desperate, use that. Well, she didn't. She refused to leave. She was yelling, pounding, and I was like, oh, I'm just gonna ignore her. I think she's just asking for attention. It's like a power grab. And so it went on for a long time, and then finally someone came to me and was like, Nancy, this lady just pooped her pants like outside of the shelter. I was like, oh, well, that's awkward. So I guess she really did have to use the bathroom really bad. And the lady was so mad. I think we called her a taxi, but I don't know like how she even got in, like where she went. I don't know. The point is, she didn't end up spending the night there. And I kind of felt bad because I was like, well, probably should have just let her use the bathroom, saved us all that hassle. But I was trying to be strong, trying to say no to what I could. So that's a bad example. I just thought it was kind of a funny story. But that's a bad example of things to say no to. But anyway, I wanted to talk about this topic because I feel like a lot of us, especially in the church community, feel like we are supposed to be serving others and helping others, and putting their needs before ours. And so we have this tendency to not want to say no if people ask us for something. And I mean, that's a good spirit to have, the servant's heart and willingness to serve others. But the reason why it's important to know when to say no and be able to say it in a gracious way is because we have our own needs and we have our own things we have to get done. And if we say yes to everyone else, then our plans kind of just fall to the wayside and don't end up happening. We can grow really bitter, and it can hurt our relationship with other people when we don't say no to people, when we just go along with everything, pretend that we're fine. And that's happened to me in so many relationships because I didn't want to be honest and tell them that I didn't want to do something. And so I ended up doing it, but I was like really upset and bitter and like, why do I have to do this? Like, why did I say yes? And that really hurts friendships because it's not an honest friendship at that point. And then it just makes you exhausted. It just wears you down both mentally, spiritually, emotionally. And all of these things could be avoided if we just knew the right situation and the right way to tell people no, to where it's not like, okay, you're being selfish, but it's kind of a biblical way of doing it. So how to say no? Well, everything we do, I think, biblically, is to be done through love. So we have to have a way of saying, I'm sorry, I can't do this, but with love and with not with the bitterness, like, why do you expect me to do this? So acknowledge that whatever they're asking from you is important to them, and it's something that you wish you could help them with. And just don't wave it off as if you don't care. Show them that you love them and you care about them, but unfortunately at this time is just not going to happen. And then give them something to look forward to. So this is something I've just learned in like just basic communication and relationships. Instead of just saying flat out no, people don't like to hear no. Kids don't like to hear no. No one likes to hear no. So tell them something after you say no that they can look forward to. So if, for example, if a friend's asking you to go to the store with them, for example, and you have a lot going on, you can say no, but how about we do something together next week? Or no, but how about we go to church together tomorrow? Like, so it's not like you're brushing them off and you don't want to see them ever again, but you're giving them a good alternative that works both for you and could work for them. And that way they don't feel unloved and unwanted. Another thing is that you don't have to always make excuses. This is something I still do, and it's really hard to get over. But I feel like when we say, like, we can't do something, we feel like we have to justify everything. We have to be like, oh no, I'm so tired and I was feeling sick and I have like 20 million things like this and that. And like the more excuses you bring up, the more it sounds like you are just trying to find a way out of doing whatever they want you to do. So I find that they will respect you a lot more if you just simply say, I'm sorry, I can't do that right now, but we can do something else later. And it's not lying. It's not like you owe everyone to describe exactly what you're doing throughout your day or at that time. Like, they don't have to know exactly what you're doing. All they need to know is that you appreciate them, you want to spend time with them, but it's not going to happen today. And that's a really big shift that I'm still working on, is like, you don't have to always explain everything you're doing. And so why say no? I gave you some reasons earlier, but here's some big ones. So number one, when you say no, you're respecting your own time. You're respecting the things you need to do and what's important to you. And therefore, you're causing those people you're saying no to respect you and your time as well. So, for example, if you're always available to people, they'll start assuming that they can just grab you at any time. Like, you're trying to go to bed, and they're like, oh, no, come with me really quick. And you're up until 3 a.m. and you're exhausted the next day. So by saying yes to everything, you're not causing them to respect your time and respect you as a person. So saying no in like a loving way and a kind way is one way to get people to realize, oh, her time is valuable, and if I want her time, then I'm going to have to plan ahead, and I'm going to have to ask in advance. And the same thing is true for guy, like dating relationships. If you're always available for that guy, when you're first starting out, like, he will not respect you and your time as much. He probably won't try to plan dates for you. He'll just be like, oh, come with me, or like, oh, let's just hang out and watch TV forever. Like, it's just a really easy and good way to get people to value your time. And really, time is what we have. Time is what God gives us. We all have time, but it's very limited, because once it's gone, and we can't get it back. So you need to start valuing that and spending it on things that are really important to you and what your goals are in life. And then also, this sounds selfish, but it really isn't. You need to make time for you. And I love this example. I'm trying to remember. I think it's from Mom's Night Out, and I'm sure it's from other things as well, but where the guy says, like, in the airplane, you have to put on your own air mask before you can help other people put on their air mask. And that's because if you're burnt out and if you're without air and you're dying, you can't help other people. You have to help yourself first. And that's not selfishness. Like, obviously you can push that into extremes, but if you're not spiritually healthy, if you're not feeding yourself with the Lord and with His Word, how are you going to be able to help other people? You're going to be exhausted, you're going to be hurting and just bitter, for lack of better words. But having that time for yourself to grow and for yourself to spend with God and just recharging, especially for me as an introvert, like, I need that time, and I'm not going to be a quality friend if I'm just always doing stuff with people. So again, this is just an encouragement to you. Saying no is not always selfish. Saying no is not always something that should be frowned upon. It's not a sin, but there are ways to do it, and there should always be a good reason. So if you're just saying no to people just for the sake of saying no, it's probably not the best idea. But I just want to give you that freedom. Like, it's okay, as long as you're not doing it with the wrong intentions. It is necessary. And just value your time, value what God has given you, and use it the best way you possibly can.